Yeah, exactly as I thought. I called it back in November during Diwali. Remember that post? Australia Day is being phased out by big corporations and eventually it will be by the government.
Big Papa Patriot is here to do a quick temperature check of Australian patriotism in 2024 now that Invasion Day, or as you know, a little fringe group of malcontents persist in calling it Australia Day, is done. Let's start out with this fuckwit for the chief concern of the 2024 Patriot.
Woolworths and Big W have today announced that they're pulling all of their Australia Day merchandise. It will not be for sale. They say it's because there's been a steady decrease in demand, but make no mistake, this is entirely thought through, it's entirely planned, and Australia Day will cease to exist in a few years' time.
Oh my god! This has got to be the most boring conspiracy theory I've ever heard.
I think people should boycott Woolworths. I would advise very strongly to take your business elsewhere, to go to IGA or Coles or Aldi. And I think until we get common sense out of a company like Woolworths, I don't think they should be supported by the public.
Well, hang on. So whose fault is this? Is this Peter Dutton trying to generate political capital out of creating conflict, using Woolies not having a few hand flags in there? Or is this Woolworths cynically trying to distract from critique of their real business practices through making an announcement regarding not stocking a bunch of hand flags? Obviously, the answer's both, because they're all fucking lizards, aren't they?
What's the harm in putting a few items on a shelf
and letting us as the shoppers make our own decisions whether we want to buy some Australia Day merchandise or not, Andrew?
Two viewers, Frank and Di, tell me they bought Australian flags at a $2 shop and they walked around a Woolies store in protest at the ban on Australia Day stuff. They had a lot of fun. But I'm told by Frank that when
one of the flags fell from his head onto the floor, a girl told him that the floor was where our flag belonged. So I just do wonder, can we still
win this fight?
To balance out the companies working for the forces of woke evil, there are good companies as well, fighting for the powers of light.
I looked online, Andrew, the Coles website. Don't get too worried. They're selling koala face masks and echidna serviettes.
$2 store Silly Sollies is a good patriot, definitely on our side. But Bunnings is a stupid woke bitch, and so is Kmart and I think Aldi. You know, the notion of corporate personhood is complete in our minds as a society when we start treating a bunch of shops like they're a social circle full of goodies and baddies, friends and enemies.
With a masked face but clear intent, a vigilante vandal writes, then ignites political furore on the doorstep of a supermarket giant.
I think it's disappointing to see, that it goes this far.
Protest without doing damage.
Jan 26 and boycott Woolies among the messages scrawled across the Tenerife Woolworths in apparent response to a move not to stock Australia Day merchandise.
Jan 26, January Woolies! Boycott Woolies now, people power, boycott WW! Boycott Woolies! I'm so not mad at the property damage, like fucking do it, but shittest reason.
People want to go to Woolworths and they want to shop. They don't want wokeness in aisle 3, and that's what you've served up this week.
The only thing I thought was really cheeky was this kind of shit. Like Dutton's entire month consisted of focusing on Woolworth's woke agenda. That was his campaigning platform. You don't get to insist that they should take the high road and focus on something else. You focused on nothing but cunt. It's really hilarious and telling that the only overt displays of patriotism in the kind of the vein of patriot movement era, kind of reclaim style flag patriotism, came in the form of AI generated images from some cunt who sits on his arse all day. Those images were so funny to me in their ridiculousness that I thought they were worth bringing back my oldest character for, as regular viewers would be aware. But as the always excellent and insightful Cam Wilson pointed out, there's a bit of a disconnect between what the right and the would-be patriotic perceive is going on with their political opposition and what's actually going on. So they're talking about saving Australia Day as though there's big campaigns to change dates as there were several years ago. But that's fundamentally not the case. The people who are revolving around the much larger campaigns and rallies and what have you surrounding Invasion or Survival Day, they're not focused on Australia Day so much. They're looking at bigger things. And so the scraps and the remnants of tiny dick energy Australian patriotism are left fixating on what the shops are doing, because no one's really having the battle with them that they want to have about their blessed day. In fact, as Nay Gogori and Krishna McKinnon wrote for Crikey, we have successfully made the day, that is Australia Day, too shame to celebrate. Want your mates and Instagram followers to know you're a racist? Throw an Australia Day party. Each year we have limited the scope of the day as a celebration and pushed it further to the margins of cringe. This has been done by relentless annual organising by a different mob around the country. In fact, it's my feeling that being on the left, being part of organising and showing up for rallies that have been at fever pitch over the course of the past several months in aid of the very real fact of children dying en masse in Palestine, it was my feeling that the left in Australia weren't really up for one of these low-energy culture war pissing matches that the Sky News right were up for. And so it was that after a month of not really giving a fuck about all this shit, someone went in the middle of the night and did something that really hurt these people's feelings, way more than Woolies ever could. I get really sick of your shit vibes from the defacement of this Cook statue. A comrade, a photographer who prefers not to be credited, took these photos from the same position. This is several years ago when someone poured paint all over the Cook statue. At the time, that led to a lot of furore. Now, this is what the same position looks like several years later. And I think it shows you perhaps people aren't worrying about what Sky News are saying about Woolies and what have you. Perhaps people are more worried about the very real and very current bloody impacts of settler colonialism as demonstrated by the brutal invasion and attempted genocide in Gaza by the Israeli Defence Force. I think people on the left are probably seeing Australia's willful complicity in that on a government level, and they're a bit pissed off, and they'd rather just maybe cut Cook off at the feet. This had a devastating impact on the AI-generated fucking barbecue flag cunt who went all shrill and started trying to arrange people to stand outside other statues to protect them. Oh, the tiny dick energy got even tinier. Look, I hope this guy managed to find a nice AI-generated fucking nationalist barbecue on the 26th that suited them. And I hope they managed to get all their supplies from a shop that matched their personality. After all, shops are our friends now, aren't they? Shops are our friends and enemies. Shops are wokes. Shops are patriots. Shops are our social circle.
Well, I feel almost the moral duty to go down to my local Coles in the next town and buy up big on echidnas serviettes or whatever it was.